Lieutenant, you're gonna find this was an accidental death. God forbid it's anything else.
Your phone's a bug, too. They don't even work in that area. I guess you just can't help yourself.
Okay, once you get yourself an empty seat or take the girl to the movies or something, I won't need you at all this afternoon.
Gee, thanks, Mr. Hamlin.
Right.
There's plenty of ice in there, sir.
Okay, you scoot now.
Yes, sir.
Eric? Eric, is that you?
I'm not sure.
Listen, Paul, what do you mean calling me up like this?
Get this straight. You can't make up your mind on third down, you call me on a field phone.
On the 2-yard line.
Hello.
Yeah, Eric, it's Paul again. I got the radio on here in the box. I guess it's a little loud.
Yeah. How'd you get here? What are you doing wearing it?
Coach?
Yeah.
There's nobody answering your field phone. I've been trying to reach you.
What happened here anyway?
The decedent's name is Wagner. Owns this place.
Saw some blood in here. Severe concussion. You see that?
We'll make it?
Yeah.
What time do you think this thing happened, Doc?
Oh, he's been dead about an hour now. Let's put it around 2:30. From the water that splashed in the decking, he must have been diving. He slipped on the board, and that contusion would have knocked him unconscious.
How do you know what happened on the board? I mean, there's water up around the steps, too.
I've seen it a dozen times.
Officer, is there a gardener?
It's a private box, mister.
Well, I knocked. You are Mr. Paul Hamlin, aren't you? I've seen your pictures in the newspaper. Well, Eric Wagner was found dead a little while ago in the swimming pool.
I just talked to him.
You did?
Called him from here before the game. And I called him again a little time later.
Looked like Mr. Wagner had some kind of a party out there last night.
I don't think that's any concern of yours, Lieutenant, any more than it is mine. Now, you've done your duty. That's enough, isn't it?
Well, I did kind of wonder about the pool service. By any chance, you don't happen to know whether they come to the Wagner house on Sundays?
I don't know of any pool service that works on Sunday at all. Why?
Oh, there was just this water around the pool decking.
Well, it's normal for there to be water around a pool, isn't there?
Yes, sir. But not fresh water, no chlorine in it.
So, his death was an accident. There must be some simple explanation.
Well, that's why I said it looked like an accident, sir, because if someone had used a hose around there, like to maybe hide something or make it look like Mr. Wagner was diving, well, that's my problem, sir.
Red courtesy telephone. Mr.
Can't talk to you. Just goes back. You following me?
Well, sir, it just seemed like a funny place to make a funeral arrangement.
Please come to the transfer.
You know, you sort of caught me by surprise back there. I mean, making that telephone call right after you told the girl back at the house you didn't have time to talk to anybody.
That's why I was on the phone. I was calling off a meeting in Montreal for tomorrow. Lieutenant, you're going to find this was an accidental death. And if God forbid it's anything else, and then it was one of those crazy hippie girls he was mixed up with.
You see, that's another thing I wanted to tell you about, sir. We located every girl that was at that party. There are no leads there at all. Nothing. So it looks to me like we're just going to have to look to someone else. Well, you see, we turned up a neighbor's kid who reported seeing a ding-a-ling ice cream truck in the area around 2:30. That's just about when Mr. Wagner would have died. I called a ding-a-ling ice cream company. They don't even work in that area. So that's what I call a loose end, and it's something I gotta tie up.
Columbo, I told you I called Eric from the box just before the game. I called him again from the box about the end of the first quarter.
Unfortunately, the telephone company's records can't prove that.
But that's not my problem, is it?
No, sir. That's my problem. It's also my problem to find somebody who might even have a motive to kill Mr. Wagner. You looking for something?
Hold it right there. Just raise your hands up.
Now, wait a minute, officer. This isn't what it looks like.
It's all right. He won't have a gun. Just get his wallet.
Thank you, sir.
Well, what do you know? License and everything.
Of course I got a license. My name is Ralph Dobbs.
Don't feel bad. Could happen to anybody. You see, some of these bugs have frequency leakage. You don't put them in right, it affects the other electrical systems. That's what happened to you.
Hey, take it easy, will you? Those things are expensive.
Sorry, won't happen again. Anyway, you put it in wrong, that's all. When they used the telephone, it affected the radio. I noticed the static. But don't feel bad. I didn't know anything about this myself. Till I had trouble with my TV. When my wife used the hairdryer. So the electrician, he explained it to me. You find this boring? And tell me who told you to take out those bugs.
Come on, Lieutenant. You know my client's name is privileged information. Now I have a perfect right to keep his identity a secret.
I've got a perfect right to arrest you for breaking and entering. Not to mention illegal wiretapping. So for the sake of that license of yours, Mr. Dobbs, who hired you? Mr. Hamlin, those phones were bugged.
Bugged?
And I'll admit that for a while I thought you had something to do with it, so we checked your office, and you know what? Your phones are bugged too. And by the same equipment and by the same man. Apparently they've got tapes of all your conversations for the past 2 weeks.
You want to see me?
Been listening to that thing. That's the last phone call. 100 times. Nothing. Doesn't that strike you funny? Man's watching a football game, makes a telephone call just when they call pass interference against his own team. On the 2-yard line.
Maybe you can prove he wasn't really there. In the meantime, I gotta have my equipment.
You see, that's my problem. Can't prove where Hamlin was. That's why I'm listening to this. Trying to hear a sound, something that doesn't belong there.
Maybe he made the phone call from someplace else. You ever think of that? Someplace where there was a radio broadcasting. Background noises, boat whistles, dogs barking, things like that.
Just can't see.
Listen, will you go find yourself another suspect? Come on, Lieutenant.
Mr. Paul Hanlon, did he make a reservation for Sunday for Montreal? Is that the game at the Coliseum? Boy, the number of times I heard these guys' voices over and over and over. Still can't find it. You know what it's like? Like you have hold of half or something, and you can't get a hold of the other half.
Yeah, right.
He's going to be wide right. Smith over the ball. Here's the count. And the snap line. Fakes the handoff. Fades back to pass. He goes to Sinelli. Open in the flat. He's complete to the 30.
All right, Columbo. Now, what do you want?
I've got something to show you, sir. Won't take long.
Columbo, I'm trying to watch this game. What is it?
You know you did the same thing the first time I came in here? Last Sunday. I guess that's what started me wondering.
I did what?
You turned the radio down, but not quite off. When I told you that Eric Wagner was dead. It's all right. I do the same thing. You know, when I'm listening to a game and my wife interrupts, I can't help myself. However, when I told you about the fresh water on the decking, when I told you that Eric Wagner might have been murdered, you know what you did? Turn the radio completely off. Well, I thought I struck a chord or something.
No, Columbo, you struck out. Now, will you please go find somebody else to pester?
I won't take long, sir. Actually, I just came here to talk about Miss Ragosi. When I saw the type of woman that she was, it suddenly occurred to me why you were in such a hurry to rush out of that house and get to an outside phone. And the only reason that could have been was because you already knew that the phones in that house were bugged. You did know, didn't you? And I'm sure Miss Ragosi is going to do a lot more talking when she knows that this is really a murder. And it really is, sir. This is a murder case. There is no question about it. Oh, look, he did it again. I guess you just can't help yourself.
Columbo, I'm going to throw you out of here on your ear.
I wouldn't do that, sir. I mean, you'll miss the best part. You see, I'm not finished. If you knew that house was bugged, then you also knew that you could use those phones to set up your perfect alibi. Oh, yeah, I knew until I'd broken that alibi, none of these other things would mean much. But now, look, they scored a touchdown.
But now what?
You don't mind listening to last week's game again, do you, sir?
Why?
Well, just by coincidence, happens to be exactly the same time that you made that second phone call to Eric. Exactly 2:29, just a minute or two before he was murdered. You know, I listened to this thing, I can't tell you how many times, over and over again, figuring maybe I'd hear something that shouldn't be there. Some sound that shouldn't be there. An ambulance, a fire truck, like if you were in a phone booth, something.
But you didn't because it isn't there. I made the call from this booth, from that phone.
Then it suddenly occurred to me. I had it backwards. Maybe there was a sound that should be there and wasn't.
So how are my gladiators?
Like what?
Getting murdered.
Something right in front.
Is your head clear yet?
What kind of sound?
Oh, shh.
I'm not by the pool now. But are you in it yet? Will 20 more laps satisfy you? I told you I'd be ready, didn't I? Now get off my back, Hamlin. Pick me up at 5:30. Got that?
Just one more thing.